Hello there, fellow NPCs. I am Carbon Scythe, and today we're getting back into the letter. I had to take a break from it for some time because I am not used to these kind of games where you have to read this much, where you go through these many characters, and the whole narrating of this kind of story is quite a lot, to be honest. So it was kind of a slog to get through. And before I started recording this episode, I actually went back and watched through my last episode that I recorded. And so I know that we are Rebecca Gaines, and we are going to the Wright's housewarming party. But there's also something that I need to apologize for. One of the first things that I was complaining about in this game was that the name of the main character, Maria Isabella Grace Cruz Santos. And I thought, hey, this is a Philippine game. Why don't they have a Philippine name for the main character? And last week, as I was trying to make a Philippine character in an RPG, I actually learned that Spanish was the main language of their country for 300 years. Because they were conquered by people of Spain, I'm assuming. Nowadays, it's not the main language anymore, but they are still influenced, and so Spanish names are still kind of common. Or names and words, for that matter, that are inspired by the Spanish language. And so today, the Philippines is actually one of the most, if not the single most diverse country in the world where they speak the most languages. So that is actually really cool. It's unfortunate they had to go through that, of course, but it's still an amazing tale. So unbelievable that I just assumed that they were stupid for not using their own names, of their own tongue, that is. But yeah, I learned something, and I apologize for speaking out of order and for not knowing what the hell I was talking about. But for now, let's put that aside and let's continue to the story. As I said, Rebecca Gales is at the Wright's mansion and is going to attend the housewarming party together with, not Zachary, Ashton. Yeah. Let's go. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Many women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front of the porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably this is a right from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she is the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxburg.
Welcome everyone.
My mom says we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guest she has. Though I admit she does seem familiar, now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home.
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. Also, knowing there might be some truth to what lies inside the place, helps drive the unease further by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand,
be careful with Shirley, alright?
For someone who abhors gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air too lackadaisical as he watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
My disdain is likely shown beyond the tone of my voice, quite possibly in the form of a grimace. He chuckles, a rare moment where mirth and amusement danced across his features. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, I can't help but join him instead. There's something in the likeness of it, in how easy this kind of interaction falls into place, when we don't let feelings get too involved, in spite of being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. However, the moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
Oh, hello there. An odd expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
What does that mean? Are you actually lying to Rebecca? It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze starting between people walking past us until a small frown forms in his face.
Oh, wait, Ash, what about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I meet a smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he even mean by that? But before I can ask already, he has turned his back from me and is walking away, without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted his sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing in my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. Just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get a look up, Ashton's already heading inside. With a sigh and immediately a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and follow after him.
So much for a date.
Oh wow, what happened to the sun there? Even with familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. The party is full swing an hour later. With the host opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband, the poor woman, and the guests promptly fed, the band shifts the melody to a livelier tune. Soon, laughter and the rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit. Fascinating at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making the music their own, almost with no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations in a way, plenty of them in fact, with some asking more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all it takes, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride in my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that, as much as I hate to admit it. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention, or a single glance at me the whole evening. Hell, Sacker might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's busy covering the event, to boot. But at least he managed to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hands when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, in another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago he is wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he only agreed to come with me for another reason.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
Oh ho ho ho!
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Hana, please, don't be mean! Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of her profanities I've mumbled, while if she's taken notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment of it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment, and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like a little Becky throughout the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Well, that's because you kind of stupid in that case. Because you knew who they were. You knew the mansion they were buying. You should have expected this to be a fancy thing.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say.
Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about. Until Ashton walks by again in closer proximity than any of the times he has done so far this evening. Still without a look of acknowledgement our way though, even if Mrs. Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers.
Oof.
If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is
Maybe.
he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
Oh, right. Oh. The ghost is going to come in here. This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My co-workers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those. He's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. Still, the heat of blush creeps up my cheeks. I deny it already, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact.
Hana, you mean tease.
Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
Oh, we don't see it. Well, we didn't know of the ghost, but we can still ask Hana what the hell is up with her face upon seeing the ghost. It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying her chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I mention who my parents are, her face quickly lights up, and a fondness graces her face, despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we really can't avoid talking about. After all, it's one of the few things I remember her asking me the moment she spotted that little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children when there are loads we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you. You were the when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
Woo! I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen also I could impress him. Wait. You still have the children's clothing that Hana gave you from 10 years ago at least. They should be too small for you. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock, and that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen, he's a detective for heaven's sake, but feelings, more often than not, escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes his whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is, married to a man she most probably loves at that, while I'm stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone with an earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that, but for a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject, before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even sorted these things out for myself.
This is a nice party, Miss Wright.
It's supposed to be Mrs. She's married! Right? Yeah, Miss is when you're unmarried. Though, to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass it up. The topics have already captured her attention.
Please, Hana is fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky.
Sheesh.
Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
You're either my friend or my bully.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best.
Ooh, is this an analogy? Is Hana going to recognize herself in this?
If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy, that's what this is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what I've been doing. And then, I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. Thank you for recognizing that. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it, until the time comes I can confess it to him. Great if he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish. I've been too selfish.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe, I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past week I've also seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as the thing sounds, it turns out whatever I previously know may not even be true for other people, or for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before now has doubts mudding each of them. But there will be time to mull about these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when fucking Luke, strikes into the non-quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous mien he always carries around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. Oh, fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and the gossip columns have never really been my thing. I should have also expected that wherever Luke fucking Wright is, some sort of drama will sure follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it, figures it'll find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. Yeah. It happens amidst a round of applause and hoots, that people lagging behind the crowd that gathered does not catch on, until the cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility.
I have done no such thing!
God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johannes, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
Bye-bye! I did it again. The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. And I just remembered now that Hana is actually pregnant. Damn. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife, too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond repercussions it'll bring, I'm more worried about Hana. Maybe Luke too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hana, well, as refined as and well-mannered as she is in front of the other guests, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over it. Yet when I glance at her, there's only defeat, a weary slump of her shoulders and a certain depth to her breathing. Like the fight has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since when this has been going on. I don't know either of them well to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection with both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite, it's all too easy to see it in her, as she quietly watches the commotion carry on around her. In a moment, before I can think it through, I'm pulling her to the side and waving Zachary over to us.
Becca, this is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hana. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, the air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hana. Her standing in society compels her to keep her appearances. The be nice to everyone sort of thing. While Zachary's growing client base sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Although, from the way it appears, this one seems to be seems to go beyond maintaining a facade or work. I wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd ask, but we're starting to attract some curious eyes. Most of them are probably searching for more gossip, something to add fuel to the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain it to Zachary. He's aware of the situation all too well.
So, this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hana out of here?
That'd be great.
Soon he's leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Anyone who dares speak or approach on our way out, I shut down with a sharp glare. In a few steps, we're out, away from the commotion and suffocating tension. I don't stay long with them, though. Even if I want to, Ashton's still somewhere in that crowd. I gotta go back for him, at least. No matter how much the idea of that alone sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
Yeah, and now they start to talk, but I'm guessing we're following Rebecca back into the ballroom. Besides, it seems Zachary can handle this without another person helping out. In fact, for some reason, I got a strange impression I might be intruding on something if I elect to remain. Oh. Really now? I hope Zachary didn't really die in that prison cell. Better to entrust this with someone she is comfortable with. And though it might be a little inappropriate considering what has transpired, a smile worms its way to my lips as I leave. Good on them, I suppose. Chatter has exploded throughout the whole ballroom once I return. Worried murmurs, clicking out tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Luxburn. No wonder Luke's knee-deep into damage control. With the scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention on the media covering the event. Though, so far, he isn't faring well in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
Good thing Zachary isn't here. I can imagine a man of his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Wow. He's actually threatening every single person in this room. He must be working for some real bad people. He must be like mobster type rich. Luke's diatribe goes on for another few minutes, after which he excuses himself out of the area. There's a brief lull, a reluctant pause, before the place comes astir again, but shortly the buzz returns. Dancers have once again taken to the floor and the guest excited talk begins anew. But I couldn't care less about any of this now. Simply standing in the middle of it already gives me a headache. When the shock is faded, I just feel bone tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashens disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me the whole evening and might have just left me without saying anything, or knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that?
You didn't have to lie to me.
It's the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. And in a few moments we're going to see that ghost. I fucking know it. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet. Because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke right. No sign of Hana or Zachary. Just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he treads around an empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and the guests' judging stares. It's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure. He appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly, in that 1 second in the hallway at school. In a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet. Busy as he is with his thinking. If he is aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders, and he whirls around to face me. There's a second-long moment of anger flashing across his features, before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd better off Luxport if I could.
He probably pawns everything off to their servants and Hana. Pompous, elitist, douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves a benefit of the doubt at least. The questions and criticism aren't lacking, of course. But right this instant, there's only one that comes to mind. Is it true, or you should be with your wife? If we send him off with to his wife, to Hana, he's gonna see her with Zack. But we also know that Hana did not meet with Luke right after this.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this mess.
Yeah, we get a plus on Luke. I can live with that. He's supposed to be this sad, brooding type, oh, woe is me, but we could feel sorry for him if he wasn't such an asshole all the time. He's actively making it hard for us to like him. It's not just a personality default. He's definitely doing this on purpose.
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
Yeah, do I know that?
This isn't one, alright? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end he simply stuffs them back to his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time, if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. Oh, that is definitely true. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite the rather rude choice of words, none has any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the munter if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended, but I don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna be a brutal little bitch about it. Me.
Luke!
Maybe now.
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
Oh, well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Oh, I do.
Before I even thought about what to say, I've known there can only be 2 ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. His marital problems, first and foremost. His attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not by standing around me bantering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
Cross my heart.
You think this is funny,
Something about a
Daisy?
needle in my eye. Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, TLDR, stop sulking, give Luke unsolicited advice. Too long, didn't read. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh, here we fucking go! Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Does she love him? Is that a thing? It's not the... Yeah, the house is cursed. But the ghost has a specific interest for Luke. This is far more personal than any of the other things. Any of the other scenes. Like the first time I stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person. Miss McCullough. And that shadow. No. A woman now. Her. No longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. A crippling sensation gripping every part of me, while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something. A warning. But before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me. As if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. Oh, now that is interesting. That wasn't scary, that was just interesting. What the hell was that about? Here we go. Rebecca and Luke. As she was about to leave the party, Rebecca caught sight of a sulking Luke. She reminded him that brooding wouldn't fix anything and that he should be with his wife instead. Before leaving the embarrassed man, Rebecca caught a glimpse of a shadow standing behind him. Now that... Oh, I remember now why I like this story so much. It was a slog to get through at one point, but it is such a good story, it simply was too much for me to handle at that point. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. And if you want to see anything else that I've been playing, you can find it at the bottom of the screen. And remember, just because you're not the main character, doesn't mean you're not important. Goodbye, everyone.